All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today in our exciting journey about Layout Builder and flexible layout and Drupal. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Amykhailova. I'm originally from Ukraine, so if you're wondering where I got my fantastic accent from, that's where. But right now I'm located in London, Canada, and I've been working with Drupal 7 and Drupal 8 for 6 years now. So I work for the company called Digital Echidna. We are located in London, Ontario, Canada. It's a small city next to Toronto. We are 2 hours from Toronto. We are full-service agencies that are doing healthcare, education, non-profits, association, and enterprise websites. So if you are looking for the enterprise website, we are the firm to look for. So just find us on the website or shoot us an email at contact@echidna.ca. Also, we are always looking for talent. So if you are a Drupal developer in need of work, then please contact us as well. And I would like to say a huge thank you to my company for helping me to come here and present with you. All right. Also, a little bit of a fact. As you noticed, English is not my first language. So if you figure out that I'm saying something wrong, just stay with me here. I have been speaking English only 4% of my life. So understandably, I don't speak as well. All right, so what we will cover today? So we will cover Layout Builder, what modules you will need to use that are in core and in contrib space, and also how to build your custom layout and some challenges that you may hit along the way. So let's dive in. So what's Layout Builder? Well, it's a Drupal core module that is currently finally stable in core. We curated a great layout builder for years. We had panels, we had paragraphs, we had bricks, we had so many different things, and finally we landed on Layout Builder, which is great. It's fantastic. It makes editor experience so much better. So it provides you an interface to build flexible layouts like you see here. And you can create sections of content, place blocks, place different entities, and it's all from user and editor interface, so you don't have to worry about writing code as much, and your editor's getting so much better publishing experience. So when you start your first project, first thing that you need to do is enable Layout Builder suite of modules. So there are a couple of them. The first one is Layout Builder itself, that also depends on layout discovery. And then you will need a couple of contrib modules that we touch along the way. So after you enable the module, you'll need to decide either you want to customize layout per content type or per every node. So the difference between that is your content types can have a custom layout, but just like all the nodes will be the same, sharing the same layout. That's good. It will act similar to like display suite was a little bit, so that you select your region, select your layout, and then when the editor finishes editing your content in the edit form, it will appear in different layouts. So like, let's say you chose for your event to have 4-column layout, like with details, contact information, and maybe some description. This is how all events on the site will be, but you build that layout for that content type with Layout Builder. A different option is to actually have a default layout, and on top of it also enable the option to customize layout per node. So if you trust your editors to actually make the changes like that, then you can enable that option and let them to harness the power of Layout Builder in full. So they can choose the layout for the node, they can completely change the layout from the default one, they can add different sections and different blocks. That can be very good and very powerful for your editor. However, can also present some challenges that because when you build in the page, you also need to make sure it actually looks good. So there will be two-step editing. First, you fill in your form, and second, you also build the layout and make sure that your content looks great. So it's more for a little bit more experienced editors, but it's still an option. After that, you need to decide what layouts you actually need on your site. So it's a process when you can either wireframe or create some sort of different experience. So like you can build comps or low fidelity wireframes to understand what layouts you may need. I recommend to actually go through all of the content types throughout the website and make sure that they're actually working as expected. That really annoys me. I don't really know why it's okay. So they're actually working as expected with your chosen layouts. So work with your graphic designer and figure out your layout options. So it could be like 2 columns, 3 columns, maybe you need a very complicated layout for your special landing pages. Try to define all of those from the beginning, and then when you can, that's definitely not working, all right. And then when you can customize them later, but try to define what layout options you would like to use at the beginning of your project.
Is it only that speaker?
I don't know, maybe, but
Is it? Do you have your phone?
no, I don't have anything on this, so that's really
I
strange.
wonder if we can turn it down?
Maybe.
If the other speaker's fine, we could probably just turn that one off.
That's true.
I tried turning it down and see if that.
Okay.
I think off, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
The recording won't have replaced it.
Yeah.
Okay, I turned the speaker off on this side, so hopefully.
Now this one is
I don't know how useful the recording would be with all that, but.
okay. No, this one was connected to this guy, I think. Yeah. Now you hear me from the other, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's try again. Me and microphones, as I said, we are friends. Okay, so basically, after you define your layouts in your project, and you decide which one you need to use, you can either stick with core layouts, but they're quite limited, and we will cover them in a second, or you can define your own. So after you define your requirements and you're happy with wireframes and all the layouts, it's time to get hands-on. So the modules that you will enable is Layout Builder and Layout Discovery. Layout Builder itself provides an interface for you to be able to drag and drop blocks and create new sections on the page. And Layout Discovery actually allows you to plug into the Layout API and define your own layouts and define your own custom kind of templates for these layouts. However, because Layout Builder is still very young, we need a suite of contrib modules to go with it. So the first one is Layout Builder Restrictions, and allows control of which blocks you are placing in Layout Builder. So basically, you know, we all love Drupal that out of the box comes with a lot of very useful, fantastic blocks we are using on all sites, like Powered by Drupal and Who is Online. So definitely you don't want to use those in your layout builders, unless you do and you're building a new Drupal org. But if you don't want to show your Drupal pride, you probably would like to restrict them from appearing and cluttering your user interface. So that module allows you to restrict where each blocks are allowed to show in that layout, and they actually can be configured per content type. And then there is also Layout Builder Blacklist that allows you to blacklist unnecessary blocks, so they will never appear at all. So that makes it way better, and the performance a little bit better, so that when it loads the blocks that are available, they don't take as much time to load, and editor experience is way better. So I recommend to install these modules to set restrictions. Another thing that Layout Builder Restrictions also provides is restrict actual layouts or sections that can be created on the site. So let's say you want for your event content type to only be able to create 2 columns and never 4 columns, or never like column and a sidebar. So you can select those layouts that are applicable only for event content type and not for, let's say, your landing page content type. So that also helps to kind of put some boundaries around. So let's jump into site building techniques. There are a bunch of them, and I will show you from the simplest to the most advanced. So the first one is we choosing the content type, and we are managing layout per content type. So in this content type settings in Manage Display, you will be able to choose Manage by Layout Builder, and you see there is a second checkbox that says Allow content to be modified per node. So if you don't want that additional option, you just keep it off. And then 2 accordions at the bottom, that's actually your layout builder restriction module is doing. So you just enable that, and after that you can click on manage layout. This is where the magic starts. So the first option that you have is just put some fields in. So imagine this is your page and you just want a custom layout. So if you ever worked with panels or display suite, this is pretty much exactly what you were doing, basically placing certain fields in certain sections and grouping the fields together. So in this example, those are all fields on the content type, and you just place them in the content area and in sidebar. And in reality, it would look something like that. So that's your layout builder on a Drupal page, and you can place a title field on the left and a body field on the right. This is the most simple technique, but it doesn't give you enough power. It just kind of modifies the layout of the page to be a little bit more custom, but it's like you basically can achieve that with a template override or maybe display suite or maybe, bricks or paragraphs or anything like that. So let's step further. There is a blocks technique. Actually, I lied, everything is a block, but when you place in the field, it still says it's field, but it will be placed as a block. So your field will be wrapped in a block wrapper. Don't worry if you ever hit the situation when your block library has a cluttered interface, there are 200 blocks and you can't save that page anymore. Blocks that are placed through Layout Builder are actually not affected. So if you are placing them through Layout Builder, they will not appear in the block library. I'll tell you a big dark secret that I discovered myself. The block is actually a duo entity. It has 2 entities wrapped in each other. One entity is block content that holds your content. Have you ever wondered why you can actually do like entity type manager load and you put a node ID there and you actually load the node, but you can never do it with the block? Have you ever tried this? Like you pass the block plugin ID and it never works out. So the reason why it doesn't work out is because you are trying to load a plugin and not a block entity. But if you look into database, there is a block content, so block underscore content, that's actually your content entity. And that one you actually can load through ID, but it's just not advertised anywhere. When you place your blocks through the custom block library, you wrap in that content entity into the plugin. And that's what's getting placed. That's what's storing your configuration. That's why when you export configuration on the site, you actually run in a situation, this block is missing, or this block is broken. I think everybody ran into that. That's because content entity that was wrapped into that plugin that holds that configuration is now missing. That's why Layout Builder, when you place the blocks through it, it only takes that content part and treats it as a content. So that's why it doesn't clutter your custom library interface, and it allows you to place as many blocks as you want without any issues, because that is as if you are creating bricks or paragraphs or entities, custom entities, nodes. Nothing is cluttering. So that's a good gotcha here, and I found it very powerful because you typically, when you start working with Drupal, don't realize that there is 2 entities in one, and that to me was like, oh, okay, now I know why. But I was always wondering, like, why I can't load the block? Now you can too. So when you want to add additional blocks, you can actually now set up different block types. So you can set up something that is common for your website and not belongs to this content type, like quick links, CTAs, video blocks, sliders. And all of these block types, similar to how you would be setting up your paragraphs on bricks, will be now living in that layout builder, and you can place them per node. There is a gotcha though. You remember how when you place the block, you can actually specify to appear on multiple pages. So you cannot do it as easy with layout builder, because it will be a part of this content, so it will belong to this node. There is a patch that allows you to have a reusable blocks. However, I recommend to just keep it and treat it as a content of the node. Otherwise, just create a block as a normal interface, and there is an option to also place that block through Layout Builder as well. So when you place in blocks, you can place not only custom blocks, but views as well. So you see here, I placed a block, a field in the view and a view in the sidebar. In reality, that would look something like that. So you can see that we have content type fields, and we have some additional blocks, and we can have an add block section where we can place additional blocks. So the result page for that would be something like that. So those two pages are actually built with Layout Builder, and the first search bar there is actually a search block. That's a custom search, a view of different gallery objects. So the bottom part is a view, but it's placed not through the view interface, but through a Layout Builder. And the last most powerful technique is actually using view modes. Remember how your simmer is always like, okay, well, you have all of these layout builders and they have all different classes. How am I supposed to sim that? That's very challenging. What are we going to do with that? So there is a last technique for the rescues that we found the most effective in our agency. So you actually place view modes. And it's very great because in Drupal 8 it's so easy to make the view modes. All you do is you go to the display, manage display tab on your content type and create as many view modes as you want, and you specify what fields appear in this view mode. The advantage is that you override the template of this view mode, and the classes stay stable no matter where you use it. So the classes stay belonging to this node and to this view mode, and the template is very predictable. So in reality, it will look something like that. At the top, you see how many view modes we have, and at the bottom, you see how I'm actually placing the view modes as blocks. So you see object information, this is actually object information view mode. And then you see object gallery, this is object gallery view mode. So in that view mode, you select only fields that you need for this specific section of the site. So for example, in here, object gallery is just a gallery image with some thumbnails, and object information is that list of fields that belong to this specific object. The advantage is that my simmer doesn't care where I place that. Object information will always look the same, even if I place it in the main column of the site, or if I place it in a sidebar, if I place it as an entity reference to a different content type. So the simmer has an advantage of actually using the view mode as their baseline. So the advantages would be it's fully revisionable, translatable, because when you place a block, you start playing with, is it revisionable? Did I create a revision? How I translate it? When you use a view mode, you just control everything through the content type as you would with normal multilingual website. So you just set up a content type being translatable, and when you fill in the edit form, you fill it once, and you don't have to create all of the blocks, because everything is controlled through your edit form. So let's say you have a banner view mode. You open and edit it, and you upload the banner image. Then you fill in your body, you fill in your object information, and it will be split into multiple view modes, but updated at once. So you don't have to go into Layout Builder and create a new block, and then worry about it not being translatable. You actually translate everything through your content type. And then these view modes, you split it into different blocks and use it in different sections of Layout Builder. And as I said, it's easy for a simmer to use and sim and reuse, and it always generates a predictable markup. So it's easy to override templates. Now, if you figure it out how to use that, and you're running into more adventures, you actually want to create your custom layouts. So let's jump into that. But before we go into that, do you have any questions on the concepts I just covered?
Millions, but I'll follow up later.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, let's have a quick poll. Who figured out what's the difference between the three options I said and got a very good understanding of it? Good. Who feels like it was too fast and Anya, please speak slower? Fantastic. Okay, let's move on and I will try to speak slower, but at the end we'll have a Q&A and you can always touch base with me. So once you figure it out what option you want to use, you may dive into the custom layout. It's actually very easy. All you need to do is create a custom module, And that module is not going to be very complex. So you will just need an info YAML file and layouts YAML file. In the info YAML file, you will define just normal properties of a module. And if you're not sure what goes in there, what I always use as a technique, I just go into node module in core, and I just steal from there, because that's always a good resource, and then I just change the properties to be mine. So if it says name node, I will say my project layouts, and I will be done. And then after that, you select up layouts. They go into .layouts.yaml, and there you will define a default template and available regions. And after you're done, you create your template files. So your file structure would look something like that. So you see that we have custom modules folder, and we have Echidnet layouts, that's our project layouts, and two files in there, the YAML and layouts and templates. So in the layouts one, you just name the file. So name your layout, for example, one column. Specify the template that should live in your templates directory. And then you just put a category that just allows you to categorize them in the selection interface. And then it will also, you define the regions. So regions are similar to what you see on your theme regions when you place in the block, but you define it yourself. So basically you define where you will be able to place blocks in this layout. So if you want two columns, you will say first column, second column, as in my second example. Or if you want a complex custom layout, you can name it like header, banner area, nav. It doesn't matter what you name it. It's that you pass these names later in the icon map, and in Layout Builder, it generates this layout icon by default automatically, so you don't need to upload anything yourself. So that little YAML file, it allows you to kind of annotate your layout, to define what's going to be there. And that needs to be supported and matched by the template. So here is a custom template, and you can notice that I actually have content.first and content.second. So that's basically the definition of my two columns, first and second. Remember how I named it first and second in the YAML? Here. You named my first column and the second column, and then I passed first and second keys in my icon map. Down here, I actually call to them. So it should be similar to what you see when you do a bigger templates, like a page template, and you do region, right, and you put the content there, or page header, page footer, similar to that. You just do content first and content second, because you will always pass the content to layout. And the reason why you pass in the content is because layout is customizing the content of a node. So you're not customizing the page, you're customizing the node, right? The node output, so it will be stored in that content variable, and you just say, whatever I placed in there through my interface, render the first and render the second. Okay, so when would you like to use this custom layout? Well, custom layouts allow you full control over the markup. So if your simmer comes and say, you know what, in core they wrap it in a div, but I really want a site, or I would really like a section and a custom class pink unicorn, because I think we are doing a site about unicorns and their magic in the world. So in order to do that, you can always use a preprocess, but you can just use your custom template and put anything you want in there. So that's the first advantage. The second one, you can have a site-specific layouts. And when I'm talking about that is, imagine you have a very complicated landing pages. So maybe you have campaigns, and each campaign has banners, and it has a calendar, and it might have a search form, a donate now form, a bunch of campaign leaders. So typically in all the Drupal days, you would do it with views and blocks and maybe place some panels in there. But now you can actually have that layout. But that layout might be very complicated, right? Because it will consist of many pieces. So you can definitely gather it, build it through the simpler ones. So let's say we have one column, and then we have two columns at the bottom, and then another three columns. but gathering it together and building it every time can be a little bit too much for your editor. So you can create a custom layout that is actually a collection of all of that together. So then they just choose this layout on the page and immediately have it versus actually building it piece by piece. And and it's good for complex layout pages and one-off pages like your front page. Your front page is probably also looking very complex and very detailed. So all of these great advantages, all of this fantastic power, let's use it. But wait, Layout Builder is at core, however, it's still in its early days. So it's kind of like my friend here, Jordan, likes to say, it's a teenager. It's not an adult yet, and the reason it's a teenager is because it's kind of getting mature, but it's not there yet, so it has some quirks. And as any transitional age and puberty, kind of it's in its puberty right now because people are actively working on it and actively trying to fix and smooth certain bugs and features. And maintainers are very hard at work and layout initiative, and they're fixing stuff, but this stuff is still coming up, especially when we talk about revisions and multilingual. So let's be some patches. You don't have to remember all of that. I actually will upload the slides, but there are current patches that we're using, and without them, things are not as smooth and as fantastic. So that allows you to fix some bugs. However, the maintainers are very responsive and very fast, and we get a lot of those patches rolled into core very fast as well. So we are hoping to have a mature layout builder very, very soon. And the future is coming to be very, very bright. So don't be afraid to use it. We use it on the production website, but be aware there are certain bugs and you need to just apply the patch and everything will be working as expected. All right, so that's all I wanted to tell you today. Thank you for attendance and question time. Any questions? Yeah, Jordan.
I was just gonna, can you go back to the patches one real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to point out that that some of those, if you're noticing that, so like the Ajax one and the form one, so I guess these two up here, if you're noticing that you can't save your layouts because it says like, you still have unsaved changes or something like that, it's because the Ajax on, say, like a view exposed filter is breaking the Ajax on the layout builder. So then the layout builder can't save, and then it's kind of in this weird limbo state where it's partially saved, not really saved. So those kind of patches fix that. And then that context-aware one actually is if you remove a block from somewhere, but it's still in the layout, it'll like break your entire page. But this one will say, block not found as opposed to white screening. So just wanted to give some context on those.
Yeah, that's basically use cases that our clients ran into once we. That's interesting. Once we actually started, released the sites and got the editors to use it, they were like, oh, why am I getting this error? Why can't I save the layout? This is when we found all of these patches. Any other questions? No? Well, feel free to come find me during the camp and I will upload my slides, or just hit me on Twitter. Thanks so much.